sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Aeons. Welcome to Strange Aeons Radio. That is Eric Morgott over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa Williams over there.
Good afternoon.
I'm Kelly Young. Happy Women in Horror Month. We're going to be discussing our picks for films in this topic. But before we do that, hey, Vanessa, you were talking about Black Moon Rising a while ago.
Yes.
And I watched it again.
Oh, no.
It's on Prime.
Oh, no. What'd you think?
I fucking loved it, except for that stupid-looking car.
That car is so dumb. There's so many great moments that are really undercut because of the dumb car.
Isn't that the point of the whole movie, is the car?
Yeah.
It looks like something kids should race in like a box car down the road with
Hot Wheels.
dad.
It actually kind of makes sense for what it is. It's like this supersonic car, and so it's smaller, and it's got, I'm just thinking if that car had been designed a little cooler, that would have been a perfect 80s movie.
If it was just like 5 inches bigger in every direction, then that would have been a better movie.
I'm just going to let that lay.
Right.
It's kind of like the Wraith or something, because in my head, I always
like the
get
Wraith
it
car, that would have been
confused.
perfect.
Okay.
Just like, exactly. Like the sport element is fine. It's just like when Tommy Lee Jones gets in it and he doesn't even fit. That's when it's upsetting.
Yeah.
And it looks a little like made out of like, I don't know, materials you have in your garage.
Yeah, it looks like it's a fiberglass car.
Yeah.
Did you go to the IMDb of cars and see what the hell it is?
I didn't. It's just a prototype car.
Oh,
It's nothing that was ever put into production. It had been forever since I'd seen that, maybe since I saw it in the theater.
Wow.
And watching it, I was like, no wonder I felt like this was a John Carpenter movie. It feels so much like a John Carpenter movie.
It does. His writing really does have a really specific feel to it.
Right. And I thought Linda Hamilton looked beautiful. I've never really been attracted to her. I thought she looked gorgeous in this. I thought
Same.
Tommy Lee Jones looked really handsome in this movie.
He does. He looks really good. Have you seen Eyes of Laura Mars yet?
No, I still haven't seen that.
Oh, okay.
I think I was looking for that. That was a rental. And then Black Moon Rising popped up as
It's
other
free.
people have also watched this.
Free on Prime.
Yeah, available on Prime. And I was like, well, I want to watch both of these again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just, it's a really silly story.
Oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous. Like she's a carjacker and he's protecting the car because there's something in the car.
In my memory, he was the guy who stole the car.
That's
and I
so
had
funny.
forgotten completely that there was this car theft storyline.
Yeah,
I thought that
that's
he was
the
like
main thing.
I thought he was stealing the car for the car.
And she's kind of like being pimped out by this mob boss to steal cars.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like an innuendo for prostitution because she can't get out.
Right.
Yeah. And he's filming her and controlling her. That is upsetting.
You know what? That movie deserves a remake.
You know what? You're totally right. Oh my gosh, that'd be great. I'm in.
Give him the new Tesla truck.
Oh, you had me and you lost me.
Tesla truck. We all had that moment.
I'm just going to quick rattle off a couple I saw because no one else should need to watch them now.
Go.
The first one was 2019 Bruce Willis film called Trauma Center. I don't know what bet Bruce Willis lost, but it must have been huge. It's just so poorly made, and he is so asleep in the whole film. I've never heard Bruce. He's not okay. We're not looking at Bruce Willis for Meryl Streep kind of acting or something, but at least deliver the lines like you're not half awake or something. I don't know what was going on here, but he is so bad. And the movie just doesn't work on almost any level. That's all that needs to be said about that. And the other one, this was on the same night. And they're like, well, let's watch some dumb action movies. Not like that. The follow-up was at least watchable, but still very disappointing when you go, it stars Ryan Reynolds and Denzel Washington, called Safe House.
Oh,
This is from 2012.
that sounds
Wow,
cool.
I completely missed this one.
It's all right. I mean, it's fine. Unlike Trauma Center, both of the stars here are working. So that makes it a little better, but it's a fairly vanilla, generic.
Is it the follow-up to
Action movie.
Safe Room? Or whatever that one was with Jodie Foster?
Definitely not.
Safe Room, Safe House.
Panic Room?
Followed by
Panic
Safe
Room,
Space.
thank you. Panic Room.
No, it's definitely not a David Fincher kind of film.
Could be.
But they're both good, and it's at least worth watching. It's watchable. But again, it's just like, and maybe it was just that much better because Trauma Center traumatized us. I've got another one, but I'm good.
Well, okay, so I saw one, Kelly, since you mentioned one that I had recommended to you. You had recommended to me Singing in the Rain. So I went and watched it.
What did you think?
It was so good. It was so good. I mean, I actually was completely shocked and blown away by the dancing.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's
so
amazing.
good.
Oh my God. I was like, you are the most acrobatic man on planet Earth. Screw you, anyone in the Olympics. You're wrong. It's Gene Kelly, is that
Gene
correct?
Kelly, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that he didn't really start acting or being in pictures until he was 30.
Yeah, and Singing in the Rain, he's not a young
40.
man.
He's 40 in that film. He is dancing like that, and he's 40.
Yeah.
That's madness.
He's great. So is Danny Kaye and
Yeah.
what?
Debbie Reynolds.
Debbie Reynolds.
yeah.
And Debbie Reynolds
all
is
of them.
adorable.
Yeah.
She's so pixie.
Yeah.
She's just a little pixie girl. I loved the like references, and you knew I would, but to all the filmmaking scene
Yes.
and the fakeness. I love at the beginning when he's talking about his life and like going to these fine academies.
Dignity.
And
Always dignity.
Yeah, and he's, and he's like dancing around doing this vaudeville shows in these shitty little like dumpster theaters with like dudes drinking and throwing coins at them. Like that's so Hollywood. It's so Hollywood to make up this idea of who you are for everyone around you. And I just love that underneath that, I loved all the cracks it revealed, like having that really beautiful ending where they're talking over the top of this person,
Yeah.
that it's wonderful. It's really
Yeah.
wonderful. So thank
There's
you
a
for
little
that.
choreographed thing, the way they reveal at the end,
Oh,
where they're
so
just
good.
Yeah.
all the guys get
And
together.
Debbie Reynolds is like, I'll do this, but I'm never talking to you again. And then you're like,
Guy's like, fine, just do it.
just do it. Promise it's worth it. It's like, oh my God. And yeah, that blonde woman, it was like strangle. I want to strangle her. And as an editor, I definitely appreciated it too. Cause I was like,
Yes.
yeah, when you have to figure out, and there's like a mic in the plant and you're like trying to get the audio right. And you're like, move the freaking mic closer. Holy cow. You get the interference of them moving the head back and forth.
Honestly speaking, though, a wonderful performance from her too.
Yeah, no,
I mean, she's
that's very
supposed to be
true.
awful and obnoxious, and she's great at it.
The only downside of the whole thing was just it was a little long when they went into the kind of make believe. I also want to do a modernist piece to
I
this.
forgot.
film.
That's largely that was there because of the dancer. I forgot her name.
Oh yeah, she
She's
was.
one of the most famous dancers in the
She's
world.
amazing,
or something at the
and
time.
yeah, and she wasn't in any other part of the film. She just appeared for that whole, and it was beautiful. I mean, the way it was constructed, I was like, this looks like a structure that goes on forever, and that you guys are dancing in the middle. I can't quite remember what it was.
Yeah.
But
It doesn't have the energy of the rest of the film.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't
Very
quite
different.
feel like it fits in. But my mom's a huge fan of White Christmas, and they have a really similar moment in that movie too. I'm trying to remember the actress's name, but the band breaks up essentially, and one of the leads goes off on her own to do her own show by herself without the other woman and without the guys, and she's doing these like super modernist, strange, like she's wearing all black, and she's like, I don't know, it was a little odd.
Well, I am really pleased to hear that you liked it.
I did. I loved it. And I watched it with my mom, who was just singing the whole way through. And she was like, oh, I forgot that this song was from this. And you could just see her reliving her childhood
I
as
love
the
it.
film played. Oh, so
I used to
good.
drive my wife nuts before she'd seen the film by just walking around and go, Moses, supposes, his toes, our roses. After seeing the film, that no longer bothers her at all. She's like,
Well,
that was such a great scene.
The Good Morning song, it was so funny because my mom used to sing that to us to get up
Yeah.
in the morning. I had no idea what it was from. I just knew it was this like annoying song.
The
Like,
dancer
stop.
was the dancer in that one scene was Sid Charisse.
Oh.
That's right. Yeah.
Very, very
and it was and,
huge, famous person at the time. But
yeah, because my mom actually called out. She said, "I think that's this person," and I was like, "My mom doesn't know anything about movies," and I was like, "Whoa, okay, sure." Looked it up. I was like, "You are 100% accurate. The person who showed up and twirled around, you barely saw the face of, is that person."
Wow, that's neat. Man.
well, well, if it comes back again for another theatrical run, well, also too. A few years ago, I don't remember, you weren't able to make it, I don't think, but the Village Theater in Issaquah did a Singing in the Rain. Aww. And they are a relatively small theater, but they put on productions like the Fifth Ave or the Paramount downtown. And this was spectacular.
Ooh.
It was so good.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, I love it so much. Okay, you guys, I watched the Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Uh-oh, I'm sure. Well, right off the bat, you're not going to like it. So I'm assuming it was even worse.
You say that, but you don't realize I just don't like Kevin Smith and his crying. I like a couple of his movies quite a bit, and even a couple of the Jay and Silent Bob ones. I like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I think that's a fun movie.
Yeah.
I like Dogma a lot. Dogma was a huge film.
Yeah, he doesn't like. I know he doesn't like that one.
Oh, sorry. Well, that's fine.
Clerks 2. I think Clerks 2 was another one you liked.
I did like Clerks 2. I actually like Clerks 2 better than Clerks. I love Jersey Girl. Everybody hates me for loving Jersey Girl,
like
but I love
Jersey
Jersey Girl.
Jersey Girl.
It's very good. It's very cookie cutter and by the numbers, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. This was bad. It was not funny. It was... part of it is Kevin Smith really thinks he's funny. And he must really think he's a good actor because just these ridiculous facial expressions he makes as Bob are so over the top and stupid that I'm like, I feel like if you were looking at yourself while, I mean, they got to be able to look
if you're
back,
directing somebody that was, well, and it's got to be something that's developed over the last few years because Bob was relatively subtle.
Right.
Yeah, he was super subtle.
For most of the films he's been in.
Right.
But didn't they have like a cartoon series at one point
They did,
too?
yeah.
I wonder if that
Clerks.
contributed. And did they, am I correct in thinking they, Kevin Smith did Tusk?
Yes.
Okay. So I think maybe part of the issue, or at least a part of the issue that I've kind of battled against with him is that they have this really great, big, enormous built-in audience for their podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that they've tilted their humor towards what their podcast people enjoy.
This is a greatest hits by Kevin Smith. So it has every character from every single movie.
Oh.
It has the guys
whoa.
from Comic Book Men who pop up as themselves.
Whoa.
It has all sorts of, he called in every favor. He's got a fairly lengthy Ben Affleck scene.
Wow.
Matt
Holy
Damon is
crap.
in it.
Alanis Morissette?
Alanis Morissette, I believe, is in it.
God.
Or maybe she's not, and they just reference the fact that God looks just like her. I'll say this. Look, if you are a stupid person, you'll probably love this movie.
Does it have a story?
Such as it is.
Okay.
It's basically the exact same story of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Because remember, they were going to stop this movie company from making a movie about them.
Yeah, their comic book without their permission or something like that.
Well, it was the movie because remember they go to
The set.
Yeah, the set, and it's
Right. No, I mean,
James
based on their-
Vanderbeek and
yeah, based on their stuff.
This is that exactly.
Weird.
Because that movie company is now rebooting that movie.
Maybe
and
they
so they're
felt like
on-
it had been a long time and that maybe they have a new audience for that same kind of thing.
I don't know. I mean, okay, as if any longtime listeners will know that I am a fan of Kevin Smith. There's been a few very obvious moments for that. His last film, the one he did in Canada about
Hosers.
Hosers,
yeah.
was
It was bad.
terrible.
Yeah.
It was not just bad. Even he himself will talk frequently about he doesn't think he's a good director, and he's right. His films are very static looking.
I don't think he's a bad director.
No, he's not a bad one, but he's not necessarily
I think-
that good either. He expanded some, but even when his films weren't so well directed, the lines and the writing were fun. Hosers was not. It's just like, wow, this is wow.
I just think he's a bad storyteller. I always thought that his films fall apart in the third act, and this one goes completely gonzo in the third act.
Yeah, I feel like it might be one of those problems where the more money, the less good the film because
I think
feel
this
like,
was a crowdfunded movie.
well, I
Felt
just,
like it.
Maybe I'm just thinking of overall production value and overall expectations because, like, I feel like his indie stuff was so interesting. And when he was first starting out, like, he was really edgy. And in the 90s, that was a perfect fit.
Well,
it
his
was like the
first-
shoe that fit just right.
Yeah. Well, his first big budget movie, although it's become a cult thing and his fans now think it's like the greatest, was Mallrats. And Mallrats was, I felt, his first big stumble.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is all right. It ages fine. If you really love Kevin Smith, it's fine. But I
Yeah.
don't think.
And Chasing Amy was before that, right? Or was it after?
No, I think it was after because Mallrats did so poorly
Yeah.
that he lost studio stuff.
Yeah.
So he did. Chasing Amy was like something insanely low, like 250,000 or something like that.
Wow, Jesus.
I thought Mallrats was better than Chasing Amy, if I'm being honest. And it's because of that ridiculous third act.
The end of Chasing Amy's a little like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, as much as there are definitely missteps, I just felt like there was an authenticity that was really great. And it felt like he was being very uniquely himself. And now I feel like he's being very much his image of himself rather than,
I can see that.
hey, this is my soul and I'm bearing it. It's, hey, this is what you think my soul looks like and I'm going to repackage it.
Yeah. Plus, a lot of his storytelling has been siphoned down to his live shows.
Yeah. And
Where
I
he
think,
tells stories
he's
about
great in
himself and
those.
his life.
Fucking loved those
Which are
Evening with Kevin
great.
Smith videos. Those were fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I do
Really
think
good.
that he's, I don't know, I have a love-hate relationship
Yeah.
with him, obviously. He plays himself in the movie as well as Silent Bob.
Oh.
So I always think that's a stumbling point
Yeah.
in any film. There were a couple other actors playing themselves as well. His daughter is in it, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Is Johnny Depp's daughter in it or are they no longer friends?
I don't know. I'm trying to.
They were best friends. That's
was-
why they made Yoga.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if she is or not. I can't remember. It's a very, very forgettable film.
That's too bad. But can't say I'm not really that surprised.
Yeah, I know
I'll
Eric
still
will
see
watch
it.
it because he'll
Yeah.
like sucking Kevin Smith's dick.
Tasty.
Oh my God.
Well, along those lines, but not really. I did watch the bad movie flavor of the month, I guess you could say.
Oh,
Tammy and the T-Rex.
oh! I fucking forgot this. This is available on Shudder now, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yes.
Oh,
God damn it! I gotta
dear
put this on my
God.
list.
I saw the Red Letter Media version where they watched that, and I was like, nope,
really?
I'm not interested. I'm out.
Yeah.
Is it?
It's
it
got
awful?
it's got a really weird problem. It starts off really well. I can't imagine the non-violent version. The violence is wonderfully over the top and silly. The biggest problem is actually it's almost too well done.
Oh, interesting.
And it's the premise is goofy and silly enough that I wish it had tried to just go with that and been Sharknado or something, but there's a real earnestness in the teenage angst romance story almost. And Paul Walker, who's obviously a very competent actor, and
Yeah, but this is like his first movie or something.
no,
right?
that's what I thought too. But he'd had a bunch of little things.
Oh, okay.
I think it might be his first feature. Yeah, but he'd done a bunch of TV and stuff.
So he's a competent actor in this. You're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Denise Richards is
Competent.
Interesting.
in a movie of this kind. She's actually a very good performer in it,
Okay.
and that's also part of the problem. It's kind of like I want this to be it felt like from the ads and everything, and it being Vinegar Syndrome, that I thought it really was going to be so bad that it's good. And it's actually like Trauma Light.
Oh, we've talked about the problem with these kind of movies is if they're okay, that's way worse than being bad.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. But there's enough stuff that's done really well that, I don't know, maybe if this was your first foray or you'd only seen a few trauma films and a few those kind of movies, I think you'd probably like it a lot more. But having seen a lot of them,
Yeah.
that this is just like, well, shit, I want this to either go further or have pulled back the weirdness and taken what talent feels like it's there and used it to make a good movie out of a really strange situation.
Yeah.
The gory effects and everything, that was original, right? That's not like added
It looks
in.
like it, yeah.
Okay,
It just
so-
was, it was cut out. There's a PG-13 version of it, which I think was out
Yeah, who is this movie made for?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I have no idea.
How sexy is Denise Richards in this?
She's
is
fine. There's no nudity in the film.
Okay, so she's like attractive, but
she
not like meant to be there basically just to be eye candy.
No, she's a fairly part of. She's a good part of this. She's more the hero. She's
wow.
probably the hero of the story.
She's Tammy, isn't she?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end, they tried to make her sexy, but I got to tell you, Denise Richards can't dance. Excuse me, director, sir. You should have tried something different here.
Oh dear.
It starts off, I'm going, oh, this is going to be great. Because it's this scene where Paul Walker's hitting on Denise, but her bad boy has claimed her as his own. So, I can't be with you. I can't be seen with you. He gives her a rose, had given her a rose earlier, and she gives it back, and he like bites the rose, which is weird, but then really smartly used later on when he's the T-Rex. I'm like, oh, nice. But then he gets in this really stupid fight with that guy. It's supposed to be stupid. And it's really funny and it's really dumb. And it ends with them grabbing each other's junk and just hanging on. And I'm going, this is going to be awesome. This is exactly what I was hoping it for. And like 20 minutes later, I'm going, damn it. I really want this to pick a lane, man. Go with that lane.
Yeah.
But so it's not bad. Is part of the problem.
Right.
So if it intrigues anyone, I'm not going to say don't watch it. It's because it's worth watching.
The premise seems like a kid's movie.
Yeah, it almost is. Except maybe that's why they tried the PG-13 with low violence, because it almost is.
Yeah, because what adult is going to be like, yeah, I want to watch a boy who turns into a
T-Rex.
Exactly.
Like, that's just not an adult-seeking filmmaker
Well, and even
film-goer.
the title leads you to believe this would be something you'd watch on Nickelodeon or something.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Yeah, not my day as a prehistoric being or something.
I was a teenage T-Rex. Weird little silly note. In the credits, her name is Tammy with N's.
What?
I love that.
Wow.
It's like, so who messed up?
I love
Credit
that.
maker.
I've got, when we get into our film later, I've got some interesting credit stuff.
Cool.
One thing I actually want to ask you guys if you've watched yet. Picard?
I haven't, but boy, I will be.
No, I wanted to watch that. Philip Fracassi was one of the location guys on that film.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Yeah, tell me.
Well, I don't want to say too much because I think that it's only recently been out. I loved it.
I heard a couple of
Fantastic.
people saying that it got pretty dusty in the room and scenes. Did you feel that way?
I mean, look, if you show an enterprise of any kind with any kind of
You're
cool
gonna start
music,
crying?
I'm going to cry.
Nice.
Star Trek Beyond, when they
love it.
crash it into the planet, I was sobbing. I was gone. It takes so little. And this is actually in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler at all. But you see Picard at one point with the Happy Picard Day sign behind him. Oh my God, I was just losing it. I was just texting people going,
I was blown away by the reaction where it's like, what are you doing putting liberal thought into Star Trek? I'm like, did you either you were really, really dense when you first watched Star Trek?
Yeah, like from day one.
Yeah. It's like the casting starts off with it being what would be considered liberal in the late 60s and early 70s.
the entirety of Deep Space Nine is just talking about politics. Literally, it's just a show about politics.
Yes. Oh, well, what are you going to do?
Whatever. That's surprising to me that that's the reaction.
That's online,
People are-
though, so it's probably
realize.
like
The
10
internet
people.
is collectively very stupid,
Yes.
so we don't have to worry too much.
Probably like 10 people said it, and then a couple people grabbed it, and it just went everywhere.
Yeah, it just went crazy. I mean, I tried my best not to know literally anything about it before watching it because I hate things I really care about being spoiled. Really
Sure.
hate it. So I just saw like on accident on Facebook, just one person write Picard and then underneath it, great. And I was like, okay, it's been spoiled that it might be okay, but that might be okay. So it was I had a really good experience.
So this is a full series now,
It will
right?
be a full
Okay.
series. In fact, they're already talking about season 2.
Wow. Okay.
So I don't know how many episodes are going to be in it. I mean, it's CBS All Access, so who knows? Maybe like 12 or something like that. But they've already done the first season, and you don't get super far into the story in the first episode. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they handle it, because I know in Discovery that was frustrating, because in the first episode it was one thing, and the next one it felt like a very different story, or a different way of telling the story. So I'm going to be interested to see what the second episode does.
So does this, when you do something like CBS All Access, is a season 22 episodes, 10 episodes, 12
Well,
episodes?
I think Discovery was like 13.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be like
there's-
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's my estimated guess, but I don't know. I found it through means.
Well, I'm not the huge Star Trek fan you are, but I am a fan of Patrick Stewart, and I just like watching him act. So I think that I will probably be watching
You will
this.
like this. They did a really good. My frustration with Patrick Stewart is that ever since the end of Star Trek, he gets very few great roles on film. I feel like he gets really shitty random roles that don't fit the level of acting that he's capable of, like
I can
being
see
a
that.
poop emoji, or like being the bad guy in Conspiracy Theory. I don't think either of those were great. I think they do a great job with him.
That is really good to
He's
hear.
given all of that space. So
Very cool.
I want to get away from that and go into a couple of really quick, So Bad It's Good movies, since you brought
Ooh.
that up, Eric. One of them was a trauma film that I was watching for the first time since maybe 1986 or something like that. And it is Class of Nukem High, which is also on Amazon Prime.
this sounds amazing already.
Oh my God. I kind of was blown away. I think I remember thinking this movie was really stupid, and watching it as a adult, I was like, why aren't more people talking about this? This movie is a blast. It is so fun. It is so over the top, and it is so well acted. And I say that not in that these people were grand thespians, but in that they
concept,
absolutely knew what kind of movie they were making, and so acted appropriately for that kind of movie.
Yeah.
Just a blast. I don't even want to put it in the so bad it's good category, because it's actually good, but the effects are so over the top ridiculous,
Yes.
like every trauma film is. The entire idea of this high school that has slowly become irradiated by a nuclear facility right next door, and they're smoking the nuclear weed, and that's
Yes.
what's turning them all into mutants. I love that the bad guys used to be the debate team, and they're all like Road Warrior type mutants now.
Yep, there have been 3 or 4 trauma films I felt that way about. That one, Citizen Toxie, and Poltergeist, where I'm going, these...
Poltergeist, really? I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen Citizen Toxie, if I'm being honest. Either. I saw Toxic Avenger, and quite honestly, the trauma films, believe it or not, went downhill somehow from the 80s, and I just kind of was like, not my thing.
Yep, those 3, though, are ones I'm going, holy shit, these are really good.
And of course, Junk Bucket is...
Yes. Not produced by Trauma. Does help it, though.
The other one that I found, though, also on Prime. Oh, you guys, I cannot recommend this film enough. It is called Robo War.
Oh, God, yes.
Now, you may, if you've been a long-time listener, remember me talking about a lovely little film called Shocking Dark, which is a massive ripoff of Aliens and the Terminator. And it's from the mid-'80s. It was originally released as Alien 2, because that's what the Italians do.
Yes.
Zombie 2. Yes.
And then it became Shocking Dark, and it is available now. Well, this is by the same filmmakers.
Oh, fuck.
And it is a ripoff of Predator and RoboCop together. This group of mercenaries are in the jungle, and they are supposed to be picking up this military item, and it's awful. I loved it. It's fucking amazing. Robo War. It's on Amazon Prime. Please watch it. Come back to me, Eric. You would be lucky to get some kind of 5-star review where they dared you to watch Robo War or Shocking Dark.
Yeah, go ahead. Do that. I've seen Shocking Dark. Well, shall we go and talk about promising films? Break and then cut. Do a break and then what do you think?
All right, let's take a break.
That's the name. You make a pizza, as you can see, with onions, mushrooms, or pepperoni. You could lose if you have to switch, so you'd better be sharp. You better be slick. Party! Pizza party! Come on! Party! Pizza party!
And we are back. You may experience a little bit of difference in what our voices sound like right now. We had a little technical difficulty, but I think we're okay.
Yep, should be good. We've used this before. If you listen to the Richard Stanley interview, this is recording on the thing my voice was recorded on.
Oh.
His was recorded, yours and Stanley's was recorded on another device.
Oh, I didn't even know it was that different.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they mend pretty well, so we should be all right.
Perfect.
Okay, so we are talking about women in horror this month, and Vanessa, this was your kind of thing. You decided this, and that means you have to go first.
All right.
Or you get to go first.
Oh, well, I both I have to and I want to. It's I'm actually pretty excited because I feel like there are a lot more talented women in horror than anyone realizes.
Yeah.
You know, and especially right now, there are a ton of amazing female filmmakers showing up. So the one that I want to focus on is from a film that blew my mind a couple of years back called Raw. So Raw came out, it's 2016, kind of 2017. It's a French film. The original title is actually Grave. It's 99 minutes long. And just to give you a sense of the value of it, it's 92% critics on Rotten Tomatoes, 76% audience, but it is a foreign film with subtitles. So, you know, might just dock it for having to read. My God.
This is a bad movie. It has subtitles. Look, if I wanted to read, I'd grab a book.
Right? Ugh, reading is for intellectual liberal asshole. You heard it here first. All right. So I will say financially, at least in theaters, this movie didn't do very well. It cost $3.5 million to make, and it actually got back 3.9. So...
And I didn't realize it cost that much to make.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense because it is very cinematic, and the number of people you have in there, the spaces, the effects, the animals. I mean,
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in there. Even the stunts. In the United States, it only made $514,000. But I think it was really a festival film.
Yeah.
I don't think it really went anywhere else besides that. So I'm guessing in DVD and streaming, it's.
I know for sure that it played at the SIF.
It did
for a little at the
saw it.
Their Uptown Theater for a little while because not as part of the festival, just as a general screening.
Yeah, I saw it at a press screening. I think at the Uptown is how I caught it the first time.
Fancy.
Well, I know it's just I randomly get texts from people saying, "Do you want to see a free movie?" And I always say yes. I'm like, yes, because that's how I saw One Cut of the Dead too. I was just like, well, I don't care. What is it? Sounds good. Let's go.
Me like movies.
Yeah, I like cinema. It moves. There's often 35 to 60 to 24 frames per second that I can enjoy. Anyway, this film, it's pretty exciting. The director is Julia, and it's French, so excuse me, Ducanau.
Eric, help her out with this, would you?
Dusano?
Duckanau? That sounds French, right?
I'm sorry. I'm not going to say it right. Julia made this movie. She actually hadn't, this is her first feature film. She'd done a short film in 2011 called Junior, and it took a prize at Cannes. And I think that's how she kind of got the clout enough to make this movie, which also got a special prize at Cannes called the Friprisi Award. So it's some kind of big deal. And now because of Raw, I think it was successful enough that they've given her her second feature that's going to be coming out, which is called Titan, which also sounds pretty interesting. It's about a kid in an airport, shows up, was a missing kid. He claims he was one of the missing kids. Anyway, it's fine. It sounds exciting. So
take your word for that.
For a newcomer, this film is it's pretty great, but I'll go through a couple of things about it first. I wrote down the performers' names in here, but honestly, I don't know the French current cinema, so I don't know that it means a lot. But Ella Rumpf, who plays the star Alexia, she was in Tiger Girl War. She was in a Freud TV series, and this is kind of her first major role, it seems. Rava Knight Ofella plays Adrian. He's the gay roommate. He's awesome, incredible actor. He's been in a ton of stuff. He's young, so 25 credits, but it feels like good for his age. And then the parents are both prolific actors. I actually don't know what these films are like, as in if they're really good or not, but they both have a ton of credits behind their name. The plot of this is the girl who we start off following a girl being dropped off at college by her parents. We learn very quickly that she's a vegetarian. Her parents are vegetarians. So it's kind of this like a little bit sheltered lifestyle. And she goes to this enormous university and she's entering a vet program. So as in like veterinarian, not as in people who fought for a great nation. And she's nervous. She arrives at school. It's Freshers Week, which means there's a lot of hazing rituals going on. Sure. She goes into her room and she's starting to fall asleep, and there's just loud noises down the hall. People break into her room, start just tossing stuff all over the place. They're wearing masks. They take her mattress and chuck it out the window. And then she's rounded up with a bunch of the other freshman students.
You hear a lot about Wazoo and Vegas being party schools. Screw that, man. Veterinary school. And
that is such a crazy. I mean, it's almost got that really European feel though, where it's something similar but not quite normal to us. Where it's like this probably does happen. I mean, I remember Freshers Week in the UK. It was always crazy. I wasn't super a part of it because I came in at grad school, but you could just tell that everybody was like being forced to do pyramids on the side of bridges and stuff. There were a lot of photos of people on each other as a pyramid. Anyway, so like in Europe, it's a different kind of a world, and I feel like this film is really great at exploring that universe. A couple of characters that we meet in this film, she's actually at the same school that her sister is currently attending, who's also in the exact same program as she is for veterinarians. Her parents are both graduates of this school. So they're all kind of, there's sort of heritage of people becoming vets. I don't know.
Veterinary heritage. Sure, why not?
I know. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Her roommate, she gets paired up with this gay guy who's really awesome. He's a cool dude. He's just way too nice to her all the time, considering the way that she acts. She is obviously coming into this and she's a fish out of water. She's used to being the smartest person in the room, and her professors are kind of knocking her down and saying, "Oh, you think you're good at this test, huh? Let's see how many times you got it wrong," and just start correcting it in front of her and showing her that she's not good. She also rats out people left, right, and center. She's obviously a goody two-shoes. Like the professor's like, either you or your roommate cheated. Which one of you cheated? And she's like, "Oh no, it's him." Right off the bat. She screws over her sister several times. Like she steals her sister's clothes and doesn't care. And there's just little things here and there. But what this film kind of becomes, she realizes pretty quickly I'd say after maybe 20 minutes, that she has a craving as she's reached an age where she has a severe craving for fresh human that she needs to eat fresh people. Cooked animal ain't gonna do it. She tries that. It's not any good.
You guys don't remember that age when you went through that?
It's funny too, because you got a little bit of a hint. Like she gets this crazy rash after she eats this like rabbit liver as a initiation thing. And that's kind of the first moment she eats this meat kind of thing. And she gets really sick and her skin starts peeling off, and the doctor's like, oh, it's a food allergy. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think she's ripping off pieces of who she was and turning into this thing, whatever this thing is. And she just goes and becomes this ravenous creature that can't even help herself. And of course, like her sister sort of starts to play in this too. And perhaps also has this craving and is trying to teach her the ropes of how to live this lifestyle. But there's just this amazing, if you took out the horror elements of this film, it would still be a great film. Yeah. Because it's really about, like I said, somebody going to college and being unsure of themselves and trying to figure out who they are and being faced with adversity in every single area of their life, from having a roommate they weren't expecting to having meat and blood thrown on them for initiation rites, to being not the dumb kid, but not the smartest person in the room. Just constantly kind of having these things butt up against their personality, to this sibling relationship that's just really incredible. I think that's my favorite part of this film.
Yeah, it's neat you mentioned that, because it is a really solid story.
It's just a good story.
Yeah.
Like the way her and her sister act against each other and with each other, it's like it's so perfectly tuned to how siblings, if not sisters, act, where half the time they are right there behind them, like helping them out. They're always going to have each other's backs, but they also completely hate each other and like fuck each other over all the time. Like she fucks over her sister fucks over her, like in horrible ways. Like she gets really drunk at a party and her sister films it and puts it online. Yeah. And is like torturing her in the video. She's like on her hands and knees trying to bite this dead body. And like her sister films this. But then it's like, well, yeah, but then you did this other thing that was really unforgivable as well. Basically, she results in something happening to her sister that I don't want to spoil for you guys. It's very exciting.
What was weird about this film too was it was one of those, every year or every couple of years there's this is the film that made 4 people throw up and 3 people faint at a screening.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it going,
really?
No, it wasn't.
There's some
gross
There was some pretty gory moments.
There was a lot of blood.
Yeah.
Like if you sympathized with some of the characters in those moments, I think if you like put yourself in that body, it would be really tough.
I found the rabbit scene a lot harder than any of the other scenes, the rabbit liver scene and everything.
Really?
And it was just because in my head, I was like, this would bother me a lot.
Yeah.
I think the scissors scene was particularly tough for me.
That's right. I forgot about that.
The scissors
and the weird one for me, which maybe shows how gross it was the bit with the hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is actually really interesting. So when she starts to develop this craving for, she can't figure out what it is. She's just starving all the time and she's starting to get weaker and weaker. She's eating her hair in like, she's nervously talking to her professor. She's eating just the end of her hair and you're like, man, you're like going at it. But you don't think much of it. You're like, oh, she's just chewing on her hair. It's like a nervous tick. And then the next scene, she pulls out this huge amount of hair that she's consumed. And
that's a real disorder also that people have. So I thought that was kind of an interesting addition to this. I was like, oh, people do this.
Sure.
Well, I love it too because it also touches on some other girl things. Like when she's puking up her hair, a girl is in the bathroom and it kind of overhears her and she says, hey, 2 fingers makes it easier.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, that sounds about like the thing you'd hear in a girl's bathroom.
Yeah.
So there's a reason we don't always want to share it with other people. So anyway, there's just a lot of those weird like insecurities they're so real, but so not real as well. She starts to kind of hunt her roommate. That's the most uncomfortable part for me, is this tension of who is she going to bite or eat or damage or try to kill. And there's just this, you can tell she can't even control herself and she keeps trying to bite at or does manage to bite quite a few people. And her roommate, who's just this really cool guy who's really looking out for her, he's trying to help her get through things. He's talking to her all the time and saying, tell me, what does this thing make you feel? Or, hey, like, I know you're a vegetarian and you just tried to eat this hamburger and then you didn't do it. I'm going to drive you to a gas station in the middle of nowhere and get you this giant, like, I'm trying to remember what they're called, like basically kebab sandwich thing, and, be there for you and not judge you for it. Then she ends up, kind of, it's almost a mix between horniness and hungriness. Mm-hmm. And they end up having this kind of sexual exchange because he's trying to help her and she isn't really sure what she wants. But then she develops this kind of this ownership over him. And he has to basically tell her, hey, no, I'm gay. They get in a large argument. No, I'm gay. I'm sorry. And this isn't, I'm not here for you. And she tells her sister, hands off. And look, why do you have his phone number? You can't be around this guy. And this is just so human. It has nothing to do with the fact that she just wants to eat him. It just helps the story by having these really human moments. And I will say that this film, if nothing else, it is really great at showing and not telling. There are so many moments that you get just by looking at a glance or seeing an exchange or watching how somebody walks and presents themselves. My favorite moment of the film is when she eats a piece of flesh for the first time and realizes this is what she wants, and the music rises and her eyes grow big and she's like, oh my God, this is what I was hungry for this whole time. Holy crap. The violence can be a little bit tough in places. A lot of it's sort of like shockingly quick, but then they do like other really neat subtle things too. So so I would highly recommend this film. I'm so stoked to see what this director does after this. She also wrote it. So. Nice. And this was a couple years ago, so she hasn't done a film since then? She's working on one right now. Okay. Yeah, so that'll probably be out in the next year or two. The one I've picked is probably controversial in its presentation, and it's a film called Culture Shock by Gigi Salguero.
Can you confirm Marisol Ramirez recently stayed here?
Quiero volver a cruzar.
No creo que la segunda vez va a ser más fácil. Y menos con ese bultito que traes ahí. A partir de aquí, nadie habla. ¿Entendido?
Breathe, sweetie. You're safe now. Where am I? Where is she? The little angel is sleeping. You're in America now, the land of plenty.
We're so happy to have you.
This place is so special. Yeah, I think I could call it home.
Problema.
How did I get here? I can't remember anything.
People dream of a place like this.
Nothing in this place makes sense.
I know you must be very confused right now.
Give her to me. No.
We're not paid to give them the American dream. We're paid to keep them out of it.
Came out last year as part of the Into the Dark series on Hulu.
That's right. I haven't seen this yet, but we know Gigi. Yeah.
That's her first feature film. She's done about 30 short films.
Yes.
And
with Lucha Gore out in Canada. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, up in Vancouver, kind of close to our neck of the woods. I'll talk about the movie first and get into filmmaking abilities.
Yeah.
Now, Into the Dark, I think Kelly had told me something about, because I could find nothing online on the budgets and things, but I seem to remember you said you had read somewhere what the budgeting was for this, like really low, like a couple million.
Well, I don't think it's a couple million. I think it's $1 million.
$1 million, okay.
Yeah, for each of these.
And they're more like made for TV movies the way they're shot. I think there's 16 days prep, 14 days shoot, and about that many days to edit. Super tight schedule. It's directed and written by Gigi and also written by Efren Hernandez and James Benson. Didn't find a lot of credits for them beyond this one. Just starring Martha Higurata, who was in Dead Detectives.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yes. Borderland and a lot of TV. Richard Cabral, who's a MC, a Mayans MC, the follow-up to Sons of Anarchy. American Crime. He's one of those guys, you'll know him when you see him, kind of faces. Barbara Crampton, kind of familiar name there, if you're in the horror world. Sean Ashmore from Ashmore.
Oh, no.
from The Ruins.
What did you do?
And he's Iceman in the X-Men movies.
Yeah. I like him.
Yeah, he's really good. The idea, the storyline is torn from the headlines, one might say, in a way. It's kind of one of those films like From Dusk Till Dawn, where it's 2 movies in one almost 3, where it's the first 40 minutes or so is the lead character trying to cross the U.S. border and going through coyotes and it's got some rough scenes where she was raped by a guy, but she's now pregnant with his child. And
oh, man.
The coyote that tried to get her across abandoned her the previous time she tried to cross. And so she's still trying to work with that guy because he's like the best at what he does. So it's a rough start. A very, very real. Gigi shoots stuff very gritty and very real. Yeah. She's in it. She's in one of the scenes early on in the movie where their group of women is basically talking about being pregnant. And Gigi's in that scene, one of the key people in that. And then about the 40-minute mark, this movie changes significantly in tone and look. It becomes Pleasantville almost.
Yeah, because that's how it was really advertised on Hulu, because it came out right around 4th of July, right?
Yeah. And so it becomes what the hell's going on? Where am I? Kind of a Groundhog's Day sort of thing where she keeps waking up and Barbara Crampton's there but has her kid. Like her kid has already been born. And then Sean is also around, but he seems to be more knowledgeable what's going on. She starts to see people she recognizes, works out she doesn't know what's going on, but she works out that definitely something is screwed up. Everything they do seems perfect. Their pizzas are the best pizzas they've ever had. The barbecue's the best they've ever had. And every day she wakes up, they're preparing for the great 4th of July fireworks display, which doesn't really seem to happen. Spoilery do I want to be? I kind of have to be because to really explain film's 3rd segment.
Sure.
So if you're intrigued by this, fast forward until you stop hearing my voice. But she wakes up with reality goggles on, where she's in an alternate in a reality computer simulation.
Oh, okay.
And her and all the people that she knows are in this reality.
Yeah.
And this is where Gigi's work gets really dark and really gritty. And it's just filthy and nasty looking. And Sean actually plays a fairly decent guy, but the people he's working with are not. So I'll kind of stop there and let you go from there. But one of Gigi's specials, there's not a lot of violence in this film, but when it happens, it's brutal. And it's almost over the top. To the level of blood that goes flying in a few scenes, but that works. It works in the context of the film. A lot of people, if you look at the reviews online, it didn't really have a Rotten Tomatoes score, but it sort of did at the same time. I don't know. It's very weird when looking it up. Wikipedia put together whatever the ratings for, and this one is far and away the highest rated of the Into the Dark series.
Okay.
Best received, which is interesting because if you go on IMDb, the reviews are horrifying. And, just like the internet does, anything that's controversial, it's going to have some.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've got
nasty stuff.
People crossing the border, females. I mean, you're going to get those people.
Reason I picked Gigi for this is I've featured her shorts a few times at festivals. And she consistently has an incredible eye. Her films always look amazing. They easily look like they cost, that's probably I was thinking a couple million or 2 million maybe. They look like they cost a hell of a lot more than they do. She gets every dollar out of what's going on. Has an amazing, solid, natural sense for where the camera should be and how to use it. Film did well enough that they actually shot the film in segments too. They sort of shot it in order. Not fully, but each segment of the movie, the crossing the border, the Pleasantville, and the virtual reality area, were all shot in order, which worked really well to build for the actors to build to where they were going. So I'm like, well, that's a hell of an achievement too on no time and no budget. She is going to direct another film coming up this year from Orion Pictures, who I didn't even realize was still around.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, hold on.
Called 1031 and Eli Ross producing.
She couldn't use just Halloween for the title.
She's a hired director for this one. I don't think this is her written. So Eli or somebody can convince them to say, something else. Something else. But the way her shorts are, and El Gigante and a few of the other shorts I've seen by her, I have no doubt, no matter what the writing is, whatever she's doing next is going to be well worth watching. I just think she's an incredibly talented filmmaker.
Yeah, I get the sense with Gigi that if you give her a little time and a little bit more of a budget, you'll probably get the quality even higher.
Yeah.
Because she's used to working with pretty much nothing. And god damn, does she work hard.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's funny because she's one of those people that I've paneled with a number of times out at Crypticon.
Oh, okay.
And very, very cool person. But she's also stunningly beautiful. So I think it's really easy for people to be like, oh, well, you're really pretty and that's why you're probably being given these opportunities. But I would say, hell no. Because she just steps up every time there's a moment for her to be able to step into a space. She does it. And she works for it. And I think she's been pretty good at proving herself over and over again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. The talent is there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
This is one of the Into the Dark ones I didn't watch yet.
Okay.
I think that they were coming out once a month, and I think they were all kind of
like
holiday
themed?
themed.
Yes.
So
they're all holiday themed.
What does this
4th of July?
Okay, 4th of July. All right.
Yeah.
Which
It
probably,
actually came out on
extra
4th of
pissed off
July.
the internet voice.
Right.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Americana plus people crossing the border.
Now we're into a new year. Has that series continued on?
Yeah, there's a second season. I don't know if it's starting the same way or if it's even running the same way, but I was reading through and trying to find anything on budgeting and stuff. There is a second season in production.
It's a Blumhouse spinoff, right?
Yeah.
Through Hulu. Blumhouse and Hulu working together.
Yeah.
That's Blumhouse, you guys.
Blumhouse.
Oh,
that's right.
sorry.
That's right,
It's
yes.
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum.
What?
Jason Blumhouse.
Jeff Goldblum, the star of The Fly. Yes, that's the guy who's in charge of Blumhouse.
What's happened? Something's gone wrong. I'm in an alternative universe.
All right, you
Seen various
guys.
people.
I went a little different. I wasn't sure what I was going to pick for this. I actually watched Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, to see if that might be one.
Ouch.
Yeah. Although, it
Which
wasn't
one
as big.
number-wise, which one is that? Is that
I think
5?
it's 5.
Yeah, that's the one I think I like the least. Alice
Yeah.
Cooper and...
Yeah, Alice Cooper shows up.
Yeah.
And then I started watching Mirror, Mirror. Do you remember this film?
I think
yes, I do.
And I was just finding myself very bored with it. And then I thought, wait a second, Blood Diner. Do you guys remember Blood
Yeah.
Diner?
Good.
And then I thought, you know what? Everybody remembers Blood Diner because that was that was Jackie Kong. And so I went to Jackie Kong again for her very first film, and it is called The Being.
In the distance, the town of Pottsville, Idaho.
Dr. Jones, isn't the dumping of radioactive waste into the aquifer contaminating our drinking water?
Exactly what do you mean by contamination?
A small town, not much different from any other Main Street USA.
This is the kind of contamination we really have to worry about. It's everybody's responsibility to keep pornography out of this state.
Strange and unexplained events are occurring.
You say your friend was pulled out of the car by some guy in a monster suit. What in the hell is this stuff?
Some people are missing.
Well, the only explanation I have is it's some sort of genetic freak.
But why is it so intelligent?
It's conceivable it can use a higher percentage of its brain, and at the same time be completely psychotic.
The ultimate terror has taken form. And Pottsville, Idaho will never be the same.
Therefore, So one must conclude that dumping nuclear waste into the aquifer does not and will not affect the water.
This is from 1983. It was written and directed by Jackie Kong, who, of course, has the Blood Diner, which is a cult favorite, and then a number of comedies. I don't know if I've seen or not, but Blood Diner and The Being are her horror films, and she is clearly a fan of horror. She talks a lot about horror and stuff and says that she prefers making the horror films over the comedy films. It had a budget of $4.5 million, which we'll get into for a little bit. And the box office I could not find, but it is a well-known flop.
Yeah.
The Rotten Tomatoes critic score is nothing. They could find no critics who reviewed this professionally, I guess professional critics. The audience has this at 20%.
Ouch.
To those people, I say, I get where you're coming from.
Okay. It's like walking on Legos.
A lot of times I look at these and I'm like, okay, to get a fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, all it takes is for a critic to say this film is okay.
Yeah.
To get the, it could be a D rating that they've given it, but they haven't given it a fail.
Right.
So for this to get a 20%, that just means 20% of all the people who have watched it thought it was good. And that's probably about right.
Yeah.
However, you know me. I fucking love this movie.
Oh my gosh. All right.
It is not great, but boy, she is trying so hard. The level of sincerity in this film is amazing. It stars Martin Landau.
Okay, yeah, right.
Ruth Buzzy.
Oh, shit. What is the title again?
The Being.
Oh, fuck, I think I've seen this one.
Jose Ferrer. Kinky Friedman. Murray Langston, who probably doesn't ring any bells unless you were a major Gong Show fan like I was. He is also known as the Unknown Comic.
Okay. Oh, boy.
And, of course, Marianne Gordon. And let's call him Rex Coltrane for now. We'll get back to that. This movie is, it takes place in a tiny town in Idaho.
Oh.
Which is...
Yes, there, okay. Woo, yes, I've seen this one.
Over the course of one night, there is a creature that is stalking people in it. And that is the entire premise. There is a monster that is out there killing people. It's not good. No. The real question is, how did Jackie Kong get Oscar winners to be in her film?
Yeah.
The police chief and a research scientist in this town are trying to find out why people are dying and who's doing this and all this stuff. And it turns out that the local nuclear facility has been dumping toxic waste into the water supply of the town, and that is the origin of this creature. There's some really great kills in this, including a racist cop who is like the most casually racist person you'll ever meet. He's
early 80s kind of.
Yeah. But he's got it out for this particular Mexican fisherman that he keeps running in, who fishes without a license.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Keeps talking about tacos and stuff like this when he's arresting this guy. And at one point, I can't remember what he calls him, but he calls him a different Mexican name. And this guy's name, he basically says, "My name is Jose." Mm-hmm. It's not this other name you keep calling me. It's ridiculous. He gets a creature claw through the chest from behind. So the creature has somehow snuck into the back of his police car, waited for him, then jammed its hand through his chest.
Darn right.
As you do.
Yeah, that one's fun. There's a couple of other fun kills. There's a great scene with Martin Landau, who works for the nuclear facility, telling everybody, look, it is totally fine. There have been no reports that say that the toxic waste we've been dumping is actually bad for you. He actually calls it toxic waste in the script,
That's
which tells me that
beautiful.
Jackie probably didn't quite understand what toxic meant.
Yeah.
Because on TV then he pours water from a pitcher that he took from the water supply into a glass of water, drinks it on TV and saying how great it is, which I thought was a wonderful scene, because
Wow.
he says, here's the water that has had the toxic waste dumped into it and I'm drinking it right now. And I'm like, you really can't say toxic waste on this and be a spokesperson for your nuclear facility.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe like chemical off
You can call it waste
stuff.
You can call it all sorts of things, but you
Yeah.
can't call it toxic.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're going to sell that one.
The movie ends with this guy, Rex Coltrane, the main actor, having to do a one-on-one against this creature, where we get to see this puppet that has been put together. It has one eye. It looks like an eyeball that was maybe jammed into a bunch of raw hamburger or something.
Oh my
and,
gosh.
and then it moves very much like it's Dolly or something like that. It's got no
Skateboard,
movement. Just
shopping
kind of moves very quickly. That being said, it's still a kind of neat looking monster. It's not like one of those effects where you'd go,
not
"Oh my
like
god,
Pumpkinhead
that's
or anything."
terrifying." Yeah, it's one of those effects that you go, "Oh, I mean, I can see what they did, but I kind of like the puppetry of this creature. It's silly." The best part is that Jackie Kong made this at 26 years old.
Wow.
Whoa.
In 1981, it was shelved for a couple of years before they found distribution.
That's too bad.
So that's pretty interesting. And she has even said that, she's talked about how difficult it is to be a female director and how the film got this kind of cult following. And then she'd show up to talk about it, and they were like, "Who are you?"
Oh,
And she's
my
like, "I'm Jackie." And they're like, "Oh, we were expecting a dude."
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit of random nudity thrown into this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of really silly horror tropes.
Mm-hmm.
The police chief is fairly handsome, but a very bad actor. And she was like, "Look, I'm making a horror movie." She said, "This is what a horror movie has in it, and this is what I'm going to do. This is how you make money in this business." And I kind of love her for that. So I did a little bit of research on it.
Oh.
The lead, Rex Coltrane, he turned out to also be known as Bill Osco, who was the producer of such softcore porn movies as Flesh Gordon and Alice in Wonderland,
Wow.
XXX.
Wow.
Also, the husband of Jackie Kong.
Sure.
And she said to him, "Have you ever thought about making a real movie?" And he was like, "No." And she goes, "Well, how about me?" And he was like, "All right." And he put up the money for her first film.
Wow.
The best part, of course, is that in the film, he is Rex Coltrane, the actor who is playing the sheriff, the main lead actor. Oh, by the way, so his credit comes up at the beginning of the film, Rex Coltrane, right? Rex, REXX.
Oh my God.
It gets better.
Oh.
Because at the end of the film, they have a kind of a what do you call that when, like at the end of Animal House or
Like a blooper reel kind of thing?
Not a blooper reel, but they show what happened to each character later on.
Sure.
That kind of thing. And they do that, and then they show the actor with their actual name under it. And so he pops up as Rex Coltrane. Then the real credits roll. He is not going by his real name, Bill Osco, in the real credits, or Rex Coltrane. He's given himself a third name.
Yes. Yes.
And that third name is Johnny Commander.
Yes. Oh my God.
Man, if you're going to give yourself a name, these are the names.
Keep in mind, he's a softcore porn director, so he's dealing with these guys who I'm sure are using names like this in
Does this mean
porn.
that basically he's got these like personas and he needs to make sure they all get additional credits?
I have no
that you pass around?
idea. He's handsome enough that I wonder if maybe he was also a softcore porn actor.
Probably.
So, maybe one of those names was, you know what? I want this guy to go legit.
Yep. Yep. Oh
So
my God.
that's the name I'll use when I'm doing that. It's just a really fun movie. It's not very good, but it's definitely worth watching. You can see Jackie. I mean, Blood Diner is actually a good movie, and you can see her. You can see her growth.
Sure.
To that point, this one is definitely a first film by a young person. But man, I think it's got a ton of heart in it.
Aww.
Yes.
So
Yeah, it does.
I just, and this was my first time watching it. So I was like, because I was just going to go Blood Diner. And I thought, I've never seen The Bing. It is also streaming for Aeon Prime.
Yep.
And I thought, I'm going to give this a try. And I fucking loved it.
Oh my gosh.
It's a lot of fun. Blood Diner did a tour a couple of years ago when they were getting ready to go on Shout Factory or something. And she toured with it.
Yes.
So I saw her. I had never seen Blood Diner. I thought I had. Then I went down and saw that. I have never seen this. This is great. This is so much fun. And then she was interviewed afterwards and did a talk. So it's so cool to be able to do something like that.
Did you go to the Central Cinema screening? I was there.
Oh, you had that too? Oh, cool.
Yep. Same thing. I had never seen it before. And it was a ton of fun.
Yes.
Yeah, and she talked for a while. She was a really good sport about.
She seems really neat. She's won a bunch of Icon Awards and stuff from various horror film festivals that really. And she plays up the whole, I am a female horror fan who makes these kind of movies, and I don't know. I find that really refreshing. I love that about her.
Yeah, I think that the most surprising thing to me about female horror filmmakers is there's almost like this idea of a female filmmaker that it's going to be like super girly, but or lean
like heavily
emotional.
on a message that they really want to make it.
It's got to be about something.
It's got to be about being a female or something like that.
100%. And almost always, all I've seen out of female films is a alternative perspective that maybe would not have been seen otherwise. Like, it's not necessarily even a female perspective so much as this is a person who has a different life experience than the typical like white male films that come out. And it's so fascinating because you get people who are just horror fans who just want to make their own bad horror movie and just do it their way. Yeah. It's just really fascinating.
She got the script to Martin Landau by signing up for his acting class.
Oh my God.
Holy crap.
And then giving him the script. And he was so taken aback by how bold she was that he read it and he was like, all right, if you can get the money, I'll do this for you.
Wow.
So I just love that about her.
That is so brilliant.
She did her own red carpet opening night for it, and she got Martin Landau and Ruth Buzzy and Marianne Gordon and Jose Ferrer to show up.
Oh wow.
And everything too. So she is obviously a go-getter.
No kidding. Ooh, so cool.
Did you see if she's got any projects in the work now?
She's still working. She did something called, I think it was called Karaoke Nights, which was a TV series a while back. Mm-hmm. And I know that she was working on some kind of a almost a Masters of Horror thing for female directors. Okay. But I saw that was a couple of years ago, and it hasn't materialized.
Yeah, and I think there was a few that had come out. There was XX. Wasn't it? Or like...
Oh, right.
Yeah, but she was talking about this was going to be like a
kind of like Into the Dark kind of thing or something.
Yeah.
Oh, television. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So, but I know that she's still out there doing stuff, so I love it, and that's my pick.
Cool.
Okay, so since that was, let's see, Women in Horror, I think this is yours, Eric.
Yeah, I believe so. Okay, so what we're looking at, since we're in February and not necessarily deeply caustic about Valentine's Day, as many people are, we're going to do, I think we should do, how to word it, a romantic horror film or a horror film where the love story is pivotal to what's going on. Ooh. As opposed to just thrown in there because you quote unquote have to have a love story or something. This is so probably not doing The Thing.
Dang it. It's because there's no women in there.
That guy really loved his dog. So.
That's right.
He really did.
That's why I say we can't do The Thing.
Because that would be the obvious choice. I get it.
So yeah, let's go. I can't think of any off the top of my head that'll be. Let's definitely not do these.
Right. Okay, I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, and we already did Valentine's Day, so.
Oh, that's right. I forgot there was a Valentine's Day movie. Wow.
Or early 2000s teen
film.
film.
Was that teen? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, that
David
was called
Boreanaz.
Valentine.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. It was called Valentine.
So
You're
Valentine's
right.
Day is open.
Yes, it is.
It's true.
All right, guys, as usual, thank you so much for all the kind words and for sharing. You know, we have zero advertising budget, so the fact that we are getting more and more listeners means that you guys are saying nice things about us and they're taking you up on it. So we really appreciate that. We will see all of you next week when we talk about romance and horror.
Sounds good.
See you then.
Our show is recorded somewhere high above Naval Station Everett at the nexus of all realities and is engineered and produced by Eric Morgret. Our theme music is Strange Aeons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find Strange Aeons Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and wherever fine podcasts are found.